What's going on, guys? In this video we're going to talk about everything you need to get a 1JZ into your Rx7 Fc. First things first, obviously you need to acquire the motor. Second thing you're going to need is your transmission. And as far as the transmission goes, you can go with a number of different options. I went with a W58 because it was cheap, it bolted right up to the 1J, and pretty much it was cheap. There's also, you can go with the Armin 54, CD009. I know they make adapter plates for BMW trannies. They make adapter plates for pretty much anything. You can also use an AR5 tranny, so it's up to you which tranny you want to go with, but engine, tranny. Then once you have the engine and the tranny, you should buy your swap mounts. I went with the excessive motor and tranny mounts, and they used, for the motor, they used the stock Rx7 motor mounts, and it comes with the bushing for the tranny. Then once you have the engine, the tranny, and the swap mounts, you can go ahead and actually throw it in the car and it'll mount right up. But first, you're probably going to want to do a little refresh of the motor as far as timing belt, water pump, pulleys, and tensioners, everything you need to pretty much refresh this thing with a bunch of new gaskets, a bunch of new parts to make it better. I have a list of things that Jason from Rival Auto Works actually sent me, so I'm gonna put the picture here of everything you should get at least. And whether or not you want to keep AC, I chose to delete it. You have to get this little AC delete bracket, and a bunch of different companies make it, but I also went with the excessive kit just because it's what I went with everything else. And to keep wiring simple, we went with a little ARC 8000 switch panel. As you can see, it has ECU power, which is ignition, fuel, my fans, my headlights, and dash lights is my gauges. As far as the wiring goes, like I said, we just used the stock motor harness that came with the 1J. My harness was fully intact, so it was the easiest and the cheapest way to go. You just tapped everything in from the harness into the ECU, gave everything that needed power, and we were able to get started. A very important part of this swap that may not seem that important, but it is proper intercooler piping. When I did the swap, I did it with some cheap pipes and some AutoZone couplers, and very first event had problems with couplers constantly popping off. So you want to make sure you get nice couplers, nice clamps, and have everything routed the way you want it. That way you won't have any boost leaks, no problems with couplers popping off, and no problems with couplers ripping. And if you don't already have one, you're going to want to get an intercooler for your car. This one fits perfectly, bolts into the factory little front brace right there, so it was just perfect for this car. A cool thing to note is the factory Rx7 high pressure power steering line actually goes straight into the JZ power steering pump. So as far as power steering goes, you can use the stock high pressure line that goes straight into the rack right there, as you can see, and you're good to go. As far as the return line, I still have the factory cooling loop that I relocated up here, as you guys saw in the last video. But before I did that, it used to be in its factory location, and all I did was get the hose where it was before and put it into my reservoir, and pretty much everything was easy and pretty much used all the factory stuff. You are going to have to purchase the power steering reservoir though, because the factory one for the rotary or the 13B is like attached to the block, I think, or to the motor. So I went with this cheap one with AN fittings that I got on Summit Racing. I went ahead and put a sock around it to keep it from leaking fluid everywhere. But you are going to need to get a power steering reservoir. As far as cooling goes, you can go with a number of different options. You can go with a V-mount. You can put the radiator right where it's supposed to be. Actually, no, with this car, it has like a little V-mount type thing, and you have to take that out, because if not, the radiator will not fit with the 1J. As you can see, I already have no room back here, and with the setup that it was factory, it was not going to work. So as you can see, I had a little notch that right there. What I did is I cut the core support out. The radiator is actually sitting in front of where the core support would actually be. It would normally be like right here, and it gave me all these room so I can fit really big fans that I do not have yet, but that is coming in soon. So yeah, that's for me the best option I've found out so far. Only problem with that is you can see my fill neck here for the radiator is way lower than the top of the cooling system. That being said, I do want to get a little water neck and get it welded onto this. That way this can be the very top, which as you can see it is. So as far as cooling wise, I'd suggest doing this with the water neck there or a V setup. That would probably be the best way to keep your car cool. And last but not least, you want to make sure you get some gauges. I only have two, as you can see. I have water temp and oil pressure. Those are the two most important gauges to me. That way you know you're not overheating the car and you know that you still got oil in the system and your motor's not blowing up. So yeah, these are some cheap gauges. They're cheap Pro Comp gauges, so they're not the worst gauges, but they're not the best, but they do the job. But like I said, you guys can go with whatever gauge setup you want, but you want to make sure you at least have water temp and oil pressure. And one thing that's very important to get is a good clutch for your car. Don't make the mistake that I did. I went with eBay flywheel and clutch kit that cost me $260. Flywheel, clutch kit, and everything I needed. And first event, it seemed like it was doing okay. Second event, boom, slipping, couldn't drift in third, and just wasn't having it. So I went ahead and I went with the ACT clutch, as you guys saw in the previous videos. And as far as I know, or as far as like driven it, it feels great. So make sure to spend good money and get a good quality clutch so you don't have to deal with having to pull it out again later on. So yeah, that's about it. The motor, the tranny, a switch panel for simplicity, intercooler, couplers and piping, and radiator and cooling and power steering stuff, and that's pretty much it. Everything else is factory. For the clutch line, I forgot to mention that. I used a 240SX clutch line from Injuku or ISI, I can't remember, but it's all the same stuff. Just use a soft aftermarket clutch line. And besides that, everything is simple. To put this motor in this car is very simple. It just costs a little bit because of all the nickel and dime stuff it adds up. I think I want to say I spent about $6 grand-ish on the swap. I'll do a video later on of how much money I've spent on this car so far. But yeah, as far as putting the 1J into the Rx7 Fc, it's very simple, very minimalistic. A lot of the factory stuff works. So hope you guys can use this video as an idea if whether or not you want to do the swap. And let me know in the description if you have any ideas of what I could have done better or what I should do. Just anything that you guys want to say, let me know in the description below. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I know this video was a little bit on the shorter side, but I thought it'd be something you guys want to see. So see you guys later.